Great. Showing us that we're live. So we'll take a couple of minutes for Facebook to alert people that we are on, ready to get going for the week. Great. Okay, we are going to go ahead and get going then. I think that's the quickest that I've been able to share content in a while. Good morning and happy Monday to all of you. I'm excited to resume our Monday programming since there's not a holiday this week. So we kick off Mondays with our mayor, and I'm excited because we have some updates to share with you and the opportunity to take up any comments or questions that you may have. I am Juliette Abdel, President and CEO of the Westminster Chamber of Commerce, when I'm not choking up. And if you haven't already liked our page, please be sure that you hit the like button and the follow so you can get those alerts, and follow us on our social media platforms, Instagram and Twitter as well, at Westy Chamber. A lot of those platforms are actually pushing out what we're doing ahead of time for our gala that's in response to health and wellness and related to guidelines, and making sure that you guys are at the top of our minds. So follow us on all of our platforms. This is also streamed on YouTube. So if for some reason you know of folks that are not available on Facebook or want to engage with us but do not have an account, just point them over to Westminster Chamber of Commerce's YouTube page, where a lot of our videos dating all the way back to March are available. Now, I pulled up a comment. You see this comment coming to us from Wayne, sharing his good morning message to both myself and the mayor. Good morning to you, Wayne. For anyone who does hop on, we like to give shout outs. So let us know who's tuned in by dropping us a comment, giving a thumbs up. But more importantly, this function is available to you if the mayor is sharing content that you have comments that you would like to make on, or if you just have any questions that spark or come to mind, drop them in and we'll take those up after he's done with his updates so that we can answer them for you. Now, of course, we start off this Monday morning with the mayor, Mayor Herb Atchison, to share updates from his lens related to COVID, related to other news that directly touches our city, our community, and of course, our state. So with that, I will turn it over to Mayor Atchison to share with us a few words.
Good morning, Julie. First of all, let me clarify a rumor that I started 2 weeks ago. I did get confirmation, and I got a video tour of where Miss Juliette was broadcasting from, and it definitely was not a bar.
It was not. Now today is a little bit more questionable with the interrogation style, but.
But yeah, we did give her a hard time. It was a beautiful setting where she was from. A couple of things to update. Some major news breaking this morning, and we are breaking a 115-year history this year. And it was just announced this morning that the National Western Stock Show, that would be normally in place in January of 2021, has now been delayed and will not happen until January of 2022. And that's unfortunate, because that is a major event for all of Colorado and really a major portion of the United States, because vendors and distributors and kids come in to see animals and show animals from across the United States. So this is a big blow to the Denver area economy.
That's huge.
Yeah. So the other piece that an update from our friends at Tri-County from late last week, our incident rate for Adams County continues to go down. Over the last 3 reporting periods, it went from 128 to 116 to this past week, it was down to 104 incidents per 100,000. Our positivity rate is continuing to improve. We're down to 5.4. We need to be less than 5. A concerning item, though, is that the staff at Tri-County has been increasing the number of people out doing surveys. And as of the end of last week, their survey counts showed that only 85% of the people they were watching were wearing face coverings. That's down from 91% the previous week. The governor has also, over the weekend, extended the mandatory mask rule for another 30 days. That now carries us till about the third week of October. With the increase that we're seeing around the state and the United States, especially with the schools back in, our colleges, with those upticks, I will not be surprised if we'll continue to see these incremental increases of the mask wearing requirement to go through the end of the year. Now that we have more kids going back to school, we have more of the opportunity for the flu season starting now. If you have the opportunity, and this is something you can do, we encourage you as well as others, continue to wear your mask, consider the flu vaccines, and we are continuing to hope that we get a viable and safe vaccine for this COVID-19 sometime in the near future, but I'm not making any predictions based upon the news reports we keep getting back and forth of when that will be. As I talked to Juliet last week, one of the things I wanted to highlight this week is really dealing with our transportation systems. This is primarily in talking about RTD. As many of you know, in 2004, there was an election for fast tracks to build a fast track system here in the RTD district. To date, the largest portion of those corridors have been completed. On September the 21st, we will have the grand opening of segment 1 of the N line, which goes from Denver Union Station through the National Western Stock Show event area up to Thornton, which is roughly about 124th. That will be the start of a project that's already been delayed almost 3 years. Segment 2 from 124th to Highway 7 has not been funded and is not currently scheduled. The other biggest corridor is the B line, which affects Westminster from Denver Union Station through Westminster, Broomfield, Louisville, Boulder, and on up into Longmont. Current projections for that are not to be finished until 2050. That was the last date they've given us. However, over the last few weeks, we have seen a lot of activity coming out of RTD. Most notably, several announcements and discussions that took place last week. A layoff is imminent at RTD, and a number that's going to be greater than 600 is what we're being told through the press. There's also going to be furloughs and stuff. According to the information we have from the board, those furloughs only affect those who make $60,000 or more. And the amount of furlough is predicated upon the salary range that you're in. The bigger, more concerning piece also is the fact that we have a majority of the current RTD board, which a number of these are up for election or re-elections or new positions in November, is that a movement by 9 members, which is a majority of the board, is to take the FISA, which is the Fast Tracks Internal Savings Account, currently valued at approximately $120 million, to transfer the money out of that reserve account to use to pay for the shortfall in the operating budget. A number of groups, the Northwest Mayors, the Metro Mayors, Boulder County, and also I believe that Thornton and North Glen are also in the process of writing letters to the board objecting to this move of funds which are set aside for fast track corridor completions. So the pieces that are left, there's still 4 pieces: segment 2 of the N line, the B line, and 2 other spurs that are in the southern part of the metro area. Their idea is to take this money out of the escrow accounts and to use it for operating dollars, which we all object to. We have a commitment that they are supposed to be putting $12 million a year annually into this account to help pay for the completion of these fast track projects. Now, we are asking that they stop this process, but this is an issue that is fully controllable by the board. But we are trying to garner other groups and organizations to help us in this, that we are afraid that if they take the money, we'll never get that money back. We understand that $120 million does not pay for the cost of any remaining fast track construction. Even the next segment in Westminster, depending upon the estimate you look at and who you talk to, could be up to $300 million just to get it to the new downtown location. $120 million wouldn't pay for it. It would not pay for the segment 2 on the inline. That is currently valued at somewhere between $450 and $500 million. No projection of when that was going to be completed. But we do have a 2050 date on the B line. There's also the other 2 segments in the southern part of the city that do not have any funding for those either. As disturbing as that may be, the bigger issue that is being touted through a number of the board members today, which they do not have the authority to do, but they are trying to continue to push this, is for them to go back to the voters and ask that the completion of fast tracks be dropped. In other words, we would never see the completion of the B line, the in line, or the 2 segments in the south part of the city. But you would still continue to pay the fast tracks tax in perpetuity. So although it's 2/10 of the 6/10 of a cent that is paid into fast tracks today in RTD, we have been paying this fund since 2004. We're now 16 years later, and we are still looking at another 30 plus years before we get the fast track service that we are currently paying for in the Westminster, Jefferson County, or the northwest part of the metro area. These are very disturbing facts that are being discussed. And to have a board member basically say in a public announcement on TV that we up north don't need this service, that we can do without it, is totally unacceptable. The fact that we have many parts of the metro area that have fast track service, they have commuter rail service, and to then say that we up here who have been helping to pay for those don't need ours is totally unacceptable. We have made in a very strong language to the board our objection to the FISA account removal, but we do know that the only way they can change the requirement to complete fast tracks is to go back to all the voters in the district, which is all the metro area, and get the voters to overturn that election from 2004. If that proposal moves forward to make that happen, I can tell you that we as the metro mayors, our Northwest mayors, and I believe the NADA group as well will join in, that we will be very upset and objecting. We will also then at that point have to consider if we have legal action other than just through the vote process that we can use to stop that. My concern is that we're going to continue to have to watch this, understanding that the revenue has dropped off at RTD. They're very much down like anybody else, facing large numbers of layoffs, and also seeing a change of leadership at the helm, which we anticipate will take place sometime in mid to late November with the new GM coming in, which is Deborah Johnson, and she'll be coming into us from California. They are still in negotiations with a finalization of her contract, but I have spoken directly to Ms. Johnson, and she fully expects that the contract will take place and that she will be on board sometime, probably just before Thanksgiving. We welcome her expertise. She is a very intelligent young woman. She has a lot of background as a CEO operating similar systems in the California area. But I don't wish this upon anyone having to come into the situation that she's walking into with the downturn of the economy, the pandemic going on, major shortfalls in revenue, and large layoffs that RTD has never done before. So these are very concerning times, as we do with our small businesses. One of the things I'd like to go back to real quick is our incident rate. As I mentioned to Juliet when she and I talked last week, the incident rate of 104 per 100,000 needs to get down to 75. If it gets to 75, then we have the ability to request through the Tri-County Health, through the counties of Jefferson and Adams both, to be determined to be a protect our neighbors situation, which then any variance that we want to look at can go strictly to the health department and not have to go to the state. We're making good progress to get there, but it's continued upon us to be vigilant in our face coverings, our social distancing, making sure we do our hand sanitizing, and group gatherings such as we're seeing on the TV on a daily basis is not going to help us. We have to continue to be vigilant around where we're at, what group we were meeting with. Even hosting events at your home can be detrimental to your own family. So be careful with those. I'm not telling anybody not to have family over, but I'm saying be vigilant in what you do. Juliet, our news this morning, primarily around our transportation systems, is very concerning, especially with what we've seen and what we've heard from the existing board members over the last 2 weeks. What I will recognize is that the 4 people on the board on this north end, Lynn Geisinger, Vince Busick, Troy Whitmore, and Shelley Cook, have been adamant in their votes and their stance not to move this money away from our accounts and not to entertain reducing the scope of our transit system. If you have the opportunity to reach out to any of those 4, please thank them for their continued support of getting transportation equal to everyone in the metro area, not just the central core part of Denver or the southern part of the city. They are, in my opinion, trying to play one part of the city against another, and that is not helpful to any of us. We need a complete and effective transit system in the Denver metro area to be able to move people and to also cut down on the amount of congestion we're seeing. A lot of businesses are starting to return on limited basis. And if you look, our traffic counts in the metro area on I-70, 270, I-25, 76, they're all returning to a higher level than we have seen in several months. That is only going to continue to increase as we see the ability of a potential vaccine coming in once people start to take it. I also note that the Pepsi Center test center for COVID infections will be closing here this month. We still have 2 sites open in Westminster, the MAC on Thursdays. That's still available for those who are not insured or homeless. But we also still have the site at the Waterworld parking lot. Again, the numbers of usage there has been in the low 100, and we could handle over 2,000 a day. So please, if you need these tests, get to one of the test sites, whichever one benefits you best, and make sure that you're safe. If you have any clue at all that you might have been infected, please go get tested. It's better to know that you're not infected than to be worrying about it or potentially being infected than not know it. So we encourage you to do that. Julianne, I know we haven't used but about half our time, but I think the biggest thing is to reiterate our concerns with what's happening at RTD and what the impact could be to our communities if we lose the completion of fast tracks, if we lose continued service, and with a downturn and the problems that RTD had in hiring drivers and operators earlier this year, to now all of a sudden be taking those same ones that they finally started to get up and get trained and start laying them off, will be detrimental to the RTD success in the future.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you, Mayor, for that update. You have touched on a variety of topics with us this morning, transportation, of course, COVID items that were there, and then numbers, excuse me, numbers by our health departments and what that would look like for our state. I just wanted to quickly give a shout out. We have several people that have hopped on here with us, a few I haven't seen in a while. So quickly, just good morning to Keeland. I see Mike Lazar, Daniel Cole. I also have with us Councillor Bowles, Councillor DeMott, Councillor Seymour, Larry Godwin. We have Mike Vandervaart, and hello to you, Robin. Thank you for the side messages as well. And Jerry, Robin did not hop on at the very start, so I had shared with everybody, it does look like I'm in an interrogation room. Michelle, Kimberly, and if I've missed anyone, I see our board chair, Brian Dice. Thank you guys for hopping on here with us. We are at a point where we are taking up comments or questions for you at this very moment. So I will look through here and just start pulling what I do see. This initial message that came to us from our board chair, Brian Dice, just sharing a good morning to us. I know he finds these to be incredibly beneficial. We also have Jerry, which handles a lot of on our Jeffco side. He's been helping from the property tax side. He's actually included a big text. I'm just going to quickly show it and then remove it because it blocks off our faces. If you have an interest in knowing more about the federal foreclosure and things that are going on around that, please check the comment section of this broadcast for it. We also have Councillor Seymour had reiterated and is also encouraging with you, Mayor, that folks do go out and get tested at Waterworld, not just to test for their symptoms, but also to capture numbers for us so we have that data on the point. So thank you, Councillor Seymour, for that, and good morning to you as well. Councillor Dumont, thank you for hopping on here. So one of the things that you did emphasize, Mayor, was the 45% mask usage that's currently being seen by our Adams County. Do you know if this is specific to Westminster? Is that across the county that they've kind of administered those surveys and checking?
The surveys are countywide. They're not specific to any one location, and that, again, that number is down to 85% from 91.
Okay.
So it's not a big decrease, but it is a decrease. But as I said earlier, part of that could be they have more people out doing the surveys now than they've had in the past, so they're covering bigger areas. They did not have a breakdown by municipality.
Okay, excellent. And thank you so much for clarifying for me. I had heard 45 and I was like, oh my gosh, it's a complete difference. So it's substantially different. Pat, I see you on here. Good morning to you. On that note, I did want to share this link that I've been also included in the comment section. As you all are aware, the city of Westminster had PPE that they were distributing very early on to a lot of those businesses that were in need. That went to the tune of thousands that they actually helped with. We have recently partnered with Jeffco, Jefferson County, to provide PPE through the chamber to be able to access that. There is a form that you'll need to fill out. The form link is dropped for you into the comment section of this broadcast, just reiterating that. So Mayor, you shared a little bit about RTD. A lot of concerning news that's there, a lot of leadership changes, some of the furloughs that they have going on, maybe some optimistic pieces, if there are any, right? There were the four that do represent our community. You mentioned Vince. Vince has been on here before with us on a broadcast. And I think one of the most important items that you shared was, we're promised a specific number of projects to be completed, and there's a possibility that not only will the funds be redirected, but that we will continue to pay, but not for those projects that we were promised, which is a little discerning, given that we're trying to promote transit, but there's the lack of connectivity when you get to some parts of the community.
One of the things,
yeah,
Juliet, is that remember that we have the elections for the RTD board coming up in November, but it's specific to District I, which is the Boulder County, Broomfield County area. There is no candidate. There was only one person who originally put their name in, but they failed to get enough signatures to qualify for the ballot. The decision has been made that Boulder County will be selecting the person to fill that. They have indicated they will have that done by the first part of November, so that after the election, the newly appointed person can join in all the orientations and training that goes on with the rest of them who go through there. A number of the candidates are up for re-election, have no opponents. Some have as many as 2 or 3. So could the makeup of that majority change? Sure. But we don't know how it could change. There's no guarantee that the people who are running aren't of the same mindset that others are. But so we know that in District I, there will be someone appointed. They are encouraging people to apply that are interested in serving on the RTD board, but I have no idea how many applicants they have or who's applied. So that one is a county appointed vacancy that'll happen around election time.
Okay, well, that's great to know. So come November, there might be some candidates that are out there on the ballot. It is discerning whenever you start seeing the lack of people that are running to fill these roles, and part of it is, you're walking into a situation that's probably less than ideal. And I think there is a lot of kudos that you can give to our new RTD director whenever she does come out here and get started, because knowingly coming to an organization that historically is having some trouble and is looking at these significant changes, that it takes a lot, and it takes a lot of courage to do so. We have Dave Carpenter. I also see Michelle Larson. Good morning. Thank you both for hopping on here. Dave has a question for us. It's a very long text, so I'm going to pull it up here briefly while I read it quickly, Mayor, and then I'll capture the question for you in specific. Then I'll pull it off so I can see your face while you're answering it. Sure. So Dave is sharing, we know that RTD has consistently lowballed construction costs. Over the years, they've had voters approve fast tracks, and have moved those funds to a one-time operating expense. That said, if Fast Tracks is approved by voters in 2017 per its original ballot initiative, if the proposed Fast Tracks completion repeal initiative is put onto the ballot, what guarantee would we have that they'll actually complete the line instead of just delaying indefinitely? It's a little bit of history that he kind of provided with funds that they have continued to take in, but not necessarily put toward things. And if they do not repeal, then what is the guarantee that they would continue to move forward with that proposed 2050 date that we've been sharing?
Well, I think, Dave, your point's very valid. Remember, this goes back to 2004. And the only problem with the ballot language in 2004, it did not have timelines, saying that they had to have something. But also financially, RTD today does not have the bonding capacity to complete anything that's still left to be done. The last number I had from Dave Genova, who was the GM who retired back in January, they had bonding capacity of around $100 million. Well, $100 million won't complete anything as far as new construction. The big piece, keep in mind that the B line corridor, which is in Westminster, was intentionally left toward the end because of the size and scope of that corridor being the largest, the most costly construction of that. But it was also the only corridor that RTD did not own any right-of-way on. Everything that's going past Westminster Station is traveling on BNSF rail. That is primarily a freight rail line. Now, I have personally been in meetings with BNSF down in Fort Worth where we've talked about this, and BNSF is very adamant. They are not in passenger rail business. They're in the freight business. So in order for them to allow this project to go forward, there is a certain amount of funding, which exceeds $500 million, that has to be given to BNSF to buy those right-of-way gates. And that means that they're just buying time slots on the track. They're not buying any of the track. So that's still a long ways out. And RTD, honestly, they don't have the money to even pay for that today. Is there any guarantee that with the current situation at RTD that they would guarantee a date of completion for the B line? The answer is absolutely not. They don't have the money, they don't have the scope, and they don't have the capability to do that expansion. The last reasonable estimate, and these are estimates, they are not based upon any kind of construction drawings being done, that the remaining cost of the B line is somewhere north of $1.3 billion. So you can imagine if they're at the point of having to lay people off that they can't afford to keep, where will they get the money to do this? Do I have any level of confidence that 2050 is a good date? I do not. There are too many things that are at play in the economy, in the money, in the organization, and in the management of RTD that does not give me a high level of confidence that that 2050 date is a good date. Could that change? Absolutely. If we could get the economy back to what it was in 2019, get people back to work, get the vaccine for our COVID so that we have a healthier economy and a healthier people, anything is possible. But until we get to that, the likelihood of us finding some magic bullet somewhere to come up with that kind of money and in a shorter timeline, it doesn't have anything to do with the time it would take to construct this, but it does have time to have everything to do with the ability to pay for it.
Absolutely. And those are real numbers, real large numbers too, for folks to understand. I've captured that answer for Dave's question into the comment section, but I thank you, Mayor, for kind of going in detail a little bit more on what these projects look like, what the implication might be should something come out over the next several months, whether it's to transfer funds from one account to their operating expense or to bring another initiative that does repeal the initial one that we had put into place as voters. Joan, good morning to you. I also see Jeff Wasden. Thank you for hopping on here as well, everyone. We are nearly to our 30-minute mark already, and it's gone by super fast, but these are supposed to be short to the point and give you the information that you need. We touched on transportation. We also shared about the testing sites that we have here in Westminster, about numbers at our Adams County side, and of course in you all, and ensuring that you guys are doing your part in going out and supporting businesses, but doing it mindfully and making sure that you're healthy. And if you're feeling unwell, or if you just have a concern and feeling symptoms, go get tested. Economic growth really being at the forefront, that is what's going to bring us out from where we are today, with everything that's going on. So support our businesses wherever you can. To that end, tomorrow is our business success series, where we highlight a business, what they've been doing during this time, and what looks ahead for the future for them, for their employees and their customers. We're seeing a lot of businesses that had furloughed. Some are bringing some people back, some are restarting their furlough. So it's an interesting time to analyze our markets as well. And then, of course, we'll touch on Nonprofit Corner at the end of this week, and a few other items that we have on our radar. We are kicking off a lot of our programs and events back. Know that they will be hybrid. So if you are not feeling well, if you are taking care of others, I myself am a caregiver, so I understand the environments that we're in more so than many. So use the option of virtual when you can. And then if you can make it in person, we always love to see your face. You'll be socially distanced at its finest. And Dave Carpenter did share, he's just kind of thanking you for going into that level of detail in your response, Mayor. He does appreciate that tremendously. And I think all our viewers do, for your open candor on this subject. So I appreciate everybody hopping on. I hope you have a terrific Monday. Thank you for tuning in. If you just came on, rewind the video and rewatch it. If you know someone in your network that would benefit from the content the mayor has provided, which I know you have, share that away. And of course, be sure that you tag us with a replay if you watch this after we're done being live. So thank you all for tuning in. And Mayor, thank you for including you